They said humanity was never supposed to exist. Not truly. Humans were an accident, a genetic mistake that should have been erased long before they learned how to build fire. But somehow, humanity survived. Somehow, it grew. And now, someone out there wanted to correct that mistake. On the outer edge of the Milky Spiral, a massive structure floated in the darkness. It was not made by humans. It was older than Earth itself. It was called the Helix Throne, and everyone in the galaxy feared the ones who sat upon it. They were the Seraph Dominion, masters of DNA, the authors of species, the engineers of life. Every race in the galaxy was created by them, or shaped by their hand, to obey, to kneel, to follow. Except humanity. Humanity was the only species whose DNA resisted their commands. The only race that evolved too fast, fought too wild, thought too differently. Humans refused to kneel. Humans did not obey. On a quiet human colony world named Aramis 3, life was peaceful. Farmers, engineers, children playing under soft twin moons. Nobody believed the rumors of the Dominion returning. Nobody believed Earth could be in danger. Except Captain Lane Mercer. She stood near the colony's landing platform, eyes locked onto the night sky. She could feel something wrong in her bones. The stars felt too quiet, too cold. Her second officer, Jonas Hale, walked up behind her. "You're doing that thing again," he said. The dramatic staring. Lane didn't laugh. "We shouldn't be this quiet. No pirate raids. No trade broadcasts. No signals from the frontier worlds. It feels like silence before a storm." Jonas shrugged. Maybe people finally got tired of fighting. Lane slowly shook her head. Humans don't get tired of fighting. We were made for it. She didn't mean it proudly. She meant it like a warning. Before Jonas could respond, the colony sirens screamed. A sharp, metallic alarm that had never sounded in the history of Aramis 3. The night sky opened. A rip of light, like reality tearing apart, glowed overhead. Ships emerged. Not human. Not known. They were smooth and silver, shaped like flowing bone and glass. No engines. No seams. They moved like they were alive. Jonas whispered, voice trembling. "Are those?" Lane nodded, jaw tight. Seraph Dominion. But something was different. The ships did not fire. They did not demand surrender. They simply hovered. A beam of pale blue light shot down to the ground, forming a circle. And then, something stepped out. The figure was tall and slender, skin white like marble and eyes glowing with golden fire. Its voice echoed in every mind at once, not spoken, but felt. "Children of Earth," it said. "Your existence was not meant to continue. Your DNA is chaotic, unbound, dangerous. You are an error we must correct." People around the landing area froze. Some cried. Some prayed. Some fell to their knees. Lane did not. She stepped forward. "We are not your error. We are life. We are free to exist." The being turned its eyes toward her. "You are unstable. Your species spreads conflict, breaks order, disrupts balance. You refuse guidance." "Because we choose our own path," Lane said. The being raised a hand. "Choice is a flaw." And everyone in the colony felt something. A pressure in their veins. Like hands reaching inside their blood. Changing. Rearranging. Rewriting. People screamed. Some dropped to the ground. Others clutched their heads. Jonas shouted in pain, "They're rewriting our DNA, like programming." Lane felt the pressure too. Like her body was trying to twist into something new. But deep in her blood, there was something that resisted. Something ancient. Something human. A fire that refused to be controlled. She forced herself to stand. "No. We don't obey." Her scream broke the Dominion's control. Others around her gasped, breathing hard, breaking free of the pain. The being's golden eyes dimmed in confusion. Impossible. Your DNA should bend. Lane stepped closer, anger burning in her voice. We don't bend. That's what makes us human. The creature's expression changed. From confusion to interest. Then perhaps it said, "You are the key we have been seeking. The final piece. The missing code." Lane didn't understand, but she could feel the danger in those words. Before she could react, the creature lifted its hand. Light wrapped around her, pulling her upward toward the ship. Jonas reached for her. Lane. She vanished into the beam. The creature looked at the terrified colony, and its final message echoed across the world. We will study the anomaly. And when we understand you, the rest of your species will follow. The ships disappeared into the sky. The colony fell silent. Jonas dropped to his knees, shaking. Not from fear, but from fury. Because humanity never bows. And if they took Captain Lane, humanity would come for her. Even if they had to fight the rulers of DNA themselves. When Captain Lane Mercer opened her eyes, she was no longer on Aramis 3. She was suspended in a white, glowing chamber that felt alive. The walls pulsed like veins carrying light instead of blood. Her arms and legs were free, but she could not feel the floor. It was as if she floated in warm air. She tried to move, but her muscles felt heavy. Not weak, just slowed, controlled. A voice echoed around her, soft but inescapable. Your body is adapting to the environment. Do not struggle. Struggle brings damage. Lane clenched her teeth. I'll decide what hurts me. The figure from before appeared, emerging from the wall like it stepped out of mist. Tall, pale. Those gold-burning eyes. You are different, it said. Your genome resists our influence. The fire in your cells does not obey. Lane stared at it. I'm human. We don't obey anything that tries to own us. The being tilted its head like it was studying a puzzle. Yes, that is the flaw. Or the advantage. We do not yet know. Lane looked around the chamber. What do you want from me? To understand you. The being moved closer. Every race we shaped responded to the song of the genome. They accepted improvement. They accepted guidance. You do not. We guide ourselves. You destroy yourselves, it corrected. War, hunger, division, pain. You burn your own world and call it freedom. Lane laughed once, sharp. And yet we keep going. That's what scares you, isn't it? The being paused. Persistence without purpose. Survival without design. It lifted its hand. A thin thread of blue light flowed from Lane's chest, forming a glowing map in the air, a model of human DNA. This is chaos. You should not exist. And yet, you do. Lane felt the thread pull, like it wanted to tear something inside her. She forced herself to breathe steady. If you're so powerful, fix the chaos then. The being slowly lowered its hand. We tried. Many times. We made early humans weaker. Slower. More obedient. Each attempt failed. So we evolved past your control. Lane's voice carried pride this time. You mutated beyond our understanding, the being said. And mutation is dangerous. Lane glared. Dangerous to who? To the order of the galaxy. Before Lane could answer, a loud tone echoed inside the chamber. The being looked upward, as if listening to something far away. Another human vessel approaches your colony. They resist surrender. Lane's chest tightened. She knew exactly who that was. Jonas. Back on Aramis 3, chaos was unfolding. Jonas Hale stood in the colony command room, barking orders. Get the defense satellites online. All ground shields to full. Engineers ran. Screens lit up with alerts. The sky above was full of Dominion ships, floating like silent silver predators. Jonas slammed a fist onto the comm panel. To any human fleet in range, Aramis 3 is under Dominion incursion. We need immediate backup. No response. The Dominion was blocking signals. A young technician looked up with fear in her eyes. They're not firing. Why aren't they firing? Jonas exhaled slowly. Because they don't need to. They think we're already beaten. The technician asked in a small voice, "Are we?" Jonas shook his head. "Not while Lane is alive." He remembered the last look she gave him before she was taken. She wasn't afraid. She was angry. And humanity fights hardest when angry. Jonas activated the colony-wide broadcast. His voice echoed through every home, every farm, every street. "Attention, all colonists. The Dominion believes our DNA makes us weak. They believe we were a mistake. They think we will kneel. But we are human. We do not kneel. If they want our world, let them earn it." Silence followed. Then doors opened. People stood up. Mothers grabbed old rifles from storage lockers. Engineers converted mining lasers into plasma cutters. Farmers sharpened steel tools into weapons. They were not soldiers, but they were human. And that was enough. Jonas looked to the sky. "Lane, hold on. We're coming." Back aboard the Dominion ship, Lane could feel something change in the air. The creature turned to her again. "Your people resist. Even without command. Even without unity. They choose to stand against inevitability." Lane smiled, breath steady. "That's humanity's secret. We don't need to win a battle to fight it." The being stared for a long moment. "I want to see more of this." Defiance. Lane narrowed her eyes. "Why?" "To break it. To understand it." The being stepped closer. "If humanity cannot be erased, perhaps humanity must be rewritten." Lane's heart pounded harder. "You want to change us. To improve you. To perfect you. To make you obedient without removing strength." Lane whispered like a growl. "No." The being replied with the calm of absolute power. "Your permission is not required." Lane felt the chamber tighten. The walls pulsed faster. Something was coming. But deep inside her, the fire burned hot. Humans don't just survive. Humans adapt. And Lane Mercer was about to show the galaxy why no one gets to rewrite humanity. Not anymore. The chamber darkened. The glowing walls dimmed to a deep, pulsing red. Captain Lane Mercer felt the air grow heavier, thicker, as if something unseen pressed down on her chest. The Dominion being watched her closely, golden eyes unblinking. "The rewriting process will begin soon," it said. "Your genome will resist. That is expected." Lane clenched her fists. "You think you can change what it means to be human?" "We shaped nearly every species in this galaxy," the being answered. "We refined their bodies, their instincts, their obedience. We ensure balance, peace, order." Lane's voice was quiet but fierce. "Peace without freedom is just a cage." The being considered this for a moment. "Freedom is chaos. Chaos consumes. Chaos destroys." She stared directly into its burning eyes. "Humans build from chaos. We learn from it. We grow from it. Uncontrolled growth leads to collapse," it replied. "Your kind evolves too fast. You adapt too quickly. You survive when you should not. You create conflict where none should exist. You refuse the design of the galaxy." Lane stepped forward, blood pounding in her ears. "Maybe the galaxy needs to change." For the first time, the being looked unsettled. Meanwhile, on Aramis 3, Jonas Hale was preparing the colony for battle. The air smelled of fuel and metal. Makeshift armor scraped against clothing. Old machines were being rewired into weapons. Children had been moved underground. The colony was a farming world, not a fortress, but now every person stood like a soldier. Jonas walked through the colony square, checking defenses. Drone turrets hummed. Shield generators flickered to life. People worked without complaint. Their expressions were not fearful, they were focused. A teenage boy tightened a bolt on a railgun mount. Jonas paused. "You should be with your family." The boy shook his head. "My family is fighting. So I fight too." Jonas nodded and moved on. No speeches were needed. No orders. Humanity did not stand because someone forced them. They stood because something inside them refused to fall. Jonas opened a secure channel to an old bunker deep below the colony. Inside, scientists worked around glowing screens and humming machines. "How close are we?" Jonas asked. A tired scientist pushed his glasses up. "We think we can break the Dominion signal net. But to do it, we need their frequency core. We need access to one of their ships." Jonas closed his eyes. That meant boarding. It meant getting to Lane. He opened his eyes again. "Prepare a strike team." Back on the Dominion ship, Lane's body trembled as she was lowered toward a glowing platform covered in shifting symbols. The air hummed with a low tone, vibrating inside her bones. The platform wasn't metal. It was organic. Alive. It pulsed, waiting for her. The being spoke again. "This will unlock your potential. You will become what humanity was meant to be." Lane's voice was steady. "I don't need to be meant for anything. I choose who I am. Choice is irrelevant." The platform's glow rose like fire. But the fire inside Lane rose hotter. She remembered Aramis, 3. She remembered her crew. She remembered Jonas. Humanity did not fight alone. Suddenly, alarms blared through the ship. Harsh, sharp tones. Not calm like before. Panicked. The being turned sharply. Intrusion detected. Lane felt a spark of hope. Jonas. A Dominion soldier, tall, pale, armored in living bone, entered the chamber. It spoke with no breath. Outer hull breach. Unauthorized ships approaching. Humans. The being's golden eyes narrowed. They attempt rescue. Predictable. Lane smiled. Predictable? No. Determined. The being ignored her and issued commands. Capture the intruders. Minimal damage. Their genomes must remain intact. Lane laughed once, cold. "You still don't get it." The being turned back toward her. "Explain." Lane's voice was low, steady, and filled with something ancient. "You think humanity is just DNA. Code. A structure to rewrite. But the thing you're afraid of isn't in our genome." "Then where is it?" Lane leaned forward. "In our will. In our choices. In our refusal. You can't rewrite that." The being stared at her in silence. For the first time, it looked like it understood fear. On the Dominion ship's outer hull, Jonas Hale led a small strike team through a blast-cut breach. The corridor inside was smooth and white, curving like the inside of a spine. No corners. No doors. Just flowing living architecture. Jonas gripped his rifle. "Stay close. We find Lane. We get out. No hero speeches. No last stands." The team nodded. A Dominion soldier stepped into the corridor. A single shot rang out. The soldier fell. No one spoke. The strike team moved deeper. Back in the chamber, the being spoke slowly. "Your people resist even when there is no hope of victory. They fight without reason." Lane shook her head. "We fight because we choose to. Because we love. Because we refuse to lose each other." The being approached her. The golden lights in its eyes flickered like unstable flames. "Then show me. Show me this will." Lane's heart pounded. This was the moment. Not escape. Not victory. Understanding. A thin crack in the Dominion's certainty. She met its gaze. "I will." In the corridor, Jonas and his team turned a corner. And there was Lane's chamber. They saw her. They saw the being. Weapons rose. And in that first frozen second, no one fired. Because something was about to change. Something that would decide the fate of both humanity and the galaxy. The air inside the chamber felt tight, as if the room itself was holding its breath. Lane stood on the glowing platform, the Dominion being beside her. Jonas and his strike team froze at the entrance, weapons raised but fingers hesitating on the triggers. No one moved. No one spoke. Jonas's voice cracked slightly when he finally managed to say her name. Lane. She turned toward him. Her eyes were sharp and clear. She was still herself. Somehow, Jonas stepped forward. We're getting you out. Right now. The Dominion being did not react with anger. It simply observed. The humans risked themselves for one single life. Its voice echoed through every mind in the room. This is the anomaly. This is the error. Jonas aimed his rifle directly at the being's head. Call it what you want. We call it loyalty. Lane raised her hand quickly. Don't shoot. Her voice was firm, controlled. Jonas froze. He had never heard fear in her voice before. And now, there was none. Just certainty. The Dominion being shifted its golden gaze toward Jonas. You lead. You carry influence. You feel the same fire, the same resistance. You are like her. Jonas didn't lower his weapon. Yeah. And I'll burn your whole ship down before I let you touch her again. The being was silent for a moment, studying him the way one might study a strange star. You misunderstand. We have no desire to harm her. She is valuable. She is a key. Jonas stepped closer, anger shaking through him. She is a person. Not a key. Not a sample. Not your experiment. Lane exhaled slowly. Jonas, listen. They can't control us. They don't understand why. That scares them. The being spoke softly, almost like it was confessing. We created hundreds of species. All listened to the song. All obeyed the structure. But humanity evolved beyond our intention. You grow in directions we cannot predict. You adapt faster than design allows. Lane looked up at the being. Because life isn't supposed to be controlled. Control prevents destruction. Control prevents living. The room dimmed slightly, as though the ship itself heard and was thinking. Jonas took another step. We're leaving. All of us. Now. Lane shook her head. If we leave without understanding this, without understanding why we're different, they'll just keep coming. Again. And again. And again. Jonas felt his chest tighten. She was right. If they escaped now, the Dominion would not stop. The galaxy itself would turn against human existence. Lane continued. There's something in us they can't measure. Something they don't have. Something we need to show them. Jonas spoke quietly. You mean, spirit? Lane smiled just slightly. Will. The being watched them both. Will is random. Unstable. Dangerous. It leads to war. Lane nodded. It also leads to hope. Suddenly, alarms blared again. Louder this time. A Dominion soldier rushed inside. More human ships have arrived. Not military. Civilian craft. Thousands of them. They move as a swarm. They do not retreat. They do not request surrender. Jonas blinked. Civilians. Farmers, traders, miners. All piloting whatever they owned and coming straight toward the Dominion fleet. Lane whispered, awed. They came for us. The being stared at her. Something like confusion. Or wonder. Why? The probability of survival is near zero. Their actions are not logical. Lane's voice softened. Because humans don't fight alone. When one of us is taken, all of us stand. The being said nothing. But something changed in its eyes. The golden glow flickered. Like a flame struggling to understand heat. We have observed resistance. We have observed survival. But loyalty, at this scale, is new. Lane stepped closer. We choose each other. That's what you don't have. Jonas slowly lowered his weapon. His team hesitated, then followed. Not because the danger was gone, but because Lane was leading. The being turned toward her. If what you say is true, then humanity is not a mutation. Humanity is evolution. Lane nodded once. Yes. The being looked upward, listening to reports from across the ship. The civilian fleet continued to approach. They did not break. They did not turn back. If we destroy them, more will come, the being whispered. Lane answered softly, yes. The room was silent again. Then the being spoke, and its voice was no longer commanding. Then perhaps, we must change. Not your species. Ours. Jonas stared, stunned. You're saying, we ruled life by control. But life has moved beyond our design. If we are to remain, we must learn. Just as you learned. Just as you grew. Lane smiled, not victory, but understanding. Then release us. The being bowed its head. You are free, Lane Mercer. The platform dimmed. The chamber lights softened. The restraints of the ships will released. But before anyone could breathe relief, the alarms changed tone, sharp, urgent, dangerous. The soldier turned. New threat approaching. Unknown fleet. The being's eyes widened with something new. Fear. Lane and Jonas exchanged a look. Something worse than the Dominion was coming. Something neither humans nor the Dominion controlled. And the galaxy was about to change again. The alarm tone was different now. It was sharper, more urgent, almost like the ship itself was afraid. The Dominion soldier and the golden-eyed being turned toward a wall that shifted and opened like a living eye. A star map formed, glowing with soft white light. Dozens of dots appeared, ships, but their signatures were not Dominion, and not human. Jonas stared at the map. Who are they? The Dominion being spoke slowly, voice unnaturally quiet. The architects. Lane frowned. I thought you were the ones who built the galaxy's DNA. The being shook its head. We shaped life. They shaped purpose. They set the original design. They do not appear unless something has gone wrong. Very wrong. Jonas lifted his rifle again, not at the being this time, but at the door. So this is bigger than humans. Bigger than Dominion. Yes. The being's voice trembled for the first time. If they are here, it means they have judged life, broken. The map zoomed closer. The new fleet was massive. Black ships, silent, sharp, shaped like blades cutting through space. Thousands. More than the civilian swarm. More than any human fleet could fight. Their formation was precise. Perfect. Cold. Lane's voice dropped to a whisper. They look like they don't negotiate. They do not, the being replied. They observe. They decide. They erase. Jonas swore under his breath. The Dominion soldier turned toward the being. Order evacuation? Evacuation is irrelevant, the being said. They erase life itself. No escape is possible. Lane stepped off the platform. Her legs felt steady now. Strong. Then we need to talk to them. Jonas stared at her like she had gone mad. Lane, those things look at life like it's numbers. You think they'll listen to us? Lane walked closer to the star map. We didn't come this far to stay quiet now. The being watched her. You believe your voice matters? Lane nodded. It has to. The architect's fleet breached normal space silently. No light. No flash. One moment space was empty. The next, it was full of black ships. The sky over Aramis, 3 darkened as if night had swallowed day. Down on the colony, people looked up and whispered in fear. Jonas's strike team watched from the chamber window as the ships arranged themselves into a vast circle. No weapons fired. No signals transmitted. They simply watched. Like judges. Lane took a slow breath. How do we speak to them? The Dominion being stepped forward and placed its hand against a glowing panel. The room hummed. A voice began to fill the air, not sound, thought. We are the architects. We have observed deviation in the genome network. One species has disrupted the balance. One species refuses the structure. One species threatens collapse. Jonas whispered harshly, "They're talking about humans." Lane didn't move. Her heart was steady now. "Let me speak." The Dominion being hesitated, but then stepped back. The voice filled the chamber again. The flawed species must be removed. Lane stepped forward, chin raised. No. The air vibrated. The voice seemed confused. "Explain." Lane spoke slowly, clearly, as if speaking to something ancient and powerful. "Humans aren't a flaw. We're evolution. You call us chaos. But chaos is how stars are born. How worlds form. How life learns. Chaos leads to destruction, the architects replied. It also leads to creation, Lane countered. We change. We grow. We make mistakes and we learn from them. We don't follow a path, we make one. The chamber shook gently, as if the galaxy itself listened. The voice spoke again. You seek freedom over order. Lane nodded. Freedom is what makes life real. A long silence followed. Then another voice joined the architects, a voice Jonas recognized. The Dominion being. But now it spoke not to command, but to support. We feared humanity because we could not shape them. But humanity shaped themselves. Their will is not broken. Their unity is not designed. It is chosen. Lane turned, surprised. The being continued. Perhaps life must have freedom, not command. Perhaps order must evolve too. Jonas stared, stunned. The Dominion, champions of control, were defending humanity. The architect's voice returned, colder now. If the Dominion have abandoned design, then the galaxy is without structure. The golden-eyed being answered softly. Then we build a new one. Together. Not by control, but by choice. The chamber's light pulsed. The architects were silent. Then the star map flared white. We will test. Lane's heart pounded. Test how? Show the proof of your unity. Humans and Dominion must fight together. If you can stand as one, you may exist. Jonas's eyes widened. Fight what? The map zoomed out. A new threat was approaching behind the architect's fleet. A swarm. Billions of small, fast, needle-shaped ships. No pilots. No minds. Machines. Devourers. The ones who consumed galaxies before. The architects had not come to destroy life. They had come because life was about to be destroyed. Lane's breath caught. The galaxy would not survive unless former enemies stood side by side. Jonas looked to Lane. Lane looked to the Dominion being. No words were needed. Humanity did not obey. Dominion did not surrender. But together, they could defend. Lane spoke, voice strong and steady. Then we fight. The chamber trembled as the star map zoomed closer. The new swarm looked endless, dark dots filling space like a storm of insects. They moved as one, no hesitation, no fear, no thought. Machines created only for one purpose: consume all living matter. They were not alive. They did not negotiate. They did not stop. Lane felt the weight of what was coming. This was no longer about one colony. No longer about humans versus Dominion. This was the entire galaxy standing on the edge of death. Jonas gripped his rifle tighter. So we're supposed to fight that? Lane nodded. Yes. The Dominion being placed its hand on the wall again. The ship responded like a living creature, lights shifting, corridors opening. Our fleets will move. But we cannot fight alone. The swarm adapts to patterns. Predictable tactics fail. Lane turned to Jonas. Humans are never predictable. Jonas almost smiled. Finally, an advantage. The being looked at both of them. We will share our tactical library. You will share your improvisation. Together, survival becomes possible. Jonas blinked. You want us to teach you how to be chaotic? Yes. Lane exhaled. Then let's begin. The chamber became a command center. The walls reshaped into curved screens showing the battlefield. Human civilian ships formed scattered defensive rings around Aramis 3. The Dominion's silver, bone-like vessels moved into position around them, forming shields and coordinated lines. For the first time in the galaxy's history, humans and Dominion flew side by side. Jonas spoke through the communications link. All human ships, listen up. Don't fly in formation. I repeat, do not stay in formation. Spread out. Move irregular. Don't be predictable. A pilot responded. That goes against every rule of fleet combat. Jonas replied, good. That's why it'll work. Lane turned to the Dominion being. Can your ships mirror human movement? The being nodded. We can learn. Then learn fast. Lane pointed at the star map. The swarm hits in waves. We hit back like fire, not one shape, but 1,000 shapes. The flame pattern, the being said. Unstable. Uncontrolled. Lane nodded. Alive. The being's golden eyes reflected something new. Understanding. The swarm arrived. Space itself seemed to tear open as the machine ships surged forward like a black tide. No signals. No patterns. Just pure, consuming force. Human ships darted and weaved, moving unpredictably, sharp turns, sudden dips, spiraling paths. Dominion ships tried to keep pace, adjusting, learning, shifting their smooth flight into something wild. The first collision shook the galaxy. Laser fire streaked across space. Plasma bursts glowed like miniature suns. Dominion energy shields flared bright against impacts. Human railguns thundered like distant storms. The swarm hit hard. One human ship was sliced in half instantly, its hull vaporized in a silent flash. Jonas didn't look away. Keep moving. Don't freeze. Don't hold the line. Flow. Dominion ships mirrored human flight now, creating unpredictable patterns. The swarm faltered, confused, but only for seconds. Then it adapted. Lane watched, jaw tight. They're learning. They learn faster than any species, the Dominion being whispered. They consume strategies like they consume worlds. Lane's mind raced. So we don't give them strategies. Jonas understood immediately. We give them chaos. He switched the broadcast. All ships, break patterns again. No repeating motions. No rhythm. Pilots screamed acknowledgement. The battlefield exploded into wild motion, ships zigzagging like sparks in wind. The Dominion fleet followed, abandoning perfect formation, shifting into something alive, something fierce. And the swarm hesitated. Just enough. But the swarm was endless. For every enemy destroyed, 10 more surged in. Space filled with metal bodies. The darkness grew thicker. Jonas wiped sweat from his brow. We can't hold this forever. Lane's eyes narrowed. We're not supposed to. We just need to open the path. The Dominion being turned to her. To where? Lane pointed at the star map. At the massive pulsing ship at the swarm's center. The core controller. The mind. We take that out, the swarm collapses. Suicide, the being said. Lane shook her head. Only if we fail. Jonas looked at her. He already knew what she was thinking. We go in. Lane nodded. The being hesitated. Your ship is too small. It will not survive the central hull. Lane stepped closer. Then we use yours. The being stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, it extended its hand. Not an order. Not control. But partnership. Lane took it. The Dominion ship around them reshaped, walls sliding, forming a cockpit chamber large enough for both human and Dominion control interfaces. Jonas took his place beside Lane. The being stood in the center, its hands touching glowing nodes. For the first time in the galaxy's history, one ship flew with two wills guiding it. Human instinct. Dominion precision. The ship launched. The battlefield parted around it, human and Dominion ships creating a corridor through fire and death. Jonas whispered, "Lane, you ready?" Lane's voice was calm. "We were born ready for the impossible." The ship plunged toward the swarm's core. The galaxy held its breath. The Dominion vessel cut through the swarm like a silver spear. The machine ships converged, forming a tightening cage around it, closing fast. Alarms pulsed through the living hull. Jonas and Lane felt the ship tremble beneath their feet. Jonas gritted his teeth. "They're sealing us in." Lane didn't blink. "Then we break through before they finish." The Dominion being extended its hands, guiding energy through the ship. "I will maintain the outer shields. You must guide the strike." Lane nodded. Her hands moved across the glowing controls, directing power to the engines. Jonas adjusted the weapon systems, targeting only the ships blocking forward motion. Quick bursts, never a pattern. Always moving. Always unpredictable. The swarm shifted again, adapting faster now. The black machines changed formation, breaking into spirals and nets, learning the chaotic patterns the humans invented. Jonas cursed under his breath. Lane clenched her jaw. "Then we go faster." They dove. The ship burned through enemies, shields flaring white. The core ship loomed ahead now, enormous, almost planet-sized, its surface shifting like liquid metal. The center mind of the swarm. Jonas stared at it. "We're actually doing this." Lane didn't answer. Her fingers shook, only slightly. The Dominion being spoke quietly. "If you strike the core, the swarm will collapse. But there is something you must understand." Lane turned. The golden eyes of the being were full of sorrow. "The core will fight back. Not with weapons. But with memory. It reflects your mind. It tries to break your will. If you hesitate, even for a moment, we fail." Jonas swallowed. "So it attacks your thoughts?" "Yes." Lane nodded. "Then we don't give it space to speak." The ship hit the final defensive ring. The swarm opened like a mouth. The core pulsed. And suddenly, they were no longer in space. Lane stood in a hallway from her childhood. Wooden floors. Sunlight through windows. Her mother standing at the stove, humming, back turned. Lane froze. She had not heard that sound in so long. Her mother turned slowly. But the eyes were wrong. Empty. Hollow. The smile stretched too wide. "Lane," the imitation whispered. "Come home." Lane stepped back. "You're not real." The voice softened, sweet and warm. "You don't need to fight. You don't need to lead. You can rest. Just let go." Lane felt the air thicken. Felt her chest tighten. Felt everything she carried, the guilt, the losses, the fear, rise. Rest. For a moment, she wanted to. Then another voice cut through the haze. "Lane. Hey. Look at me." "Jonas." She blinked and returned. Jonas was also caught. He stood in a battlefield of the past. Bodies of his squad. Smoke. Fire. The worst day of his life. The day he survived when they didn't. They stared at him. Silent. Accusing. "You left us," one whispered. Jonas's voice cracked. "I tried." "You lived," another said. He trembled. Then he heard Lane's voice. "Jonas, come back." His breathing steadied. He looked at the phantoms. "I didn't live for myself. I lived for this. For fighting something worth the pain." The illusions evaporated. They were back in the ship. The Dominion being nearly collapsed, its form flickering, fighting 1,000 memories at once. But it stood firm, voice steady. "Strike now." Lane and Jonas moved as one. Jonas armed the core lance. Lane aimed straight at the heart of the creature. The swarm surged to protect it. Metal bodies threw themselves into the path, screaming without sound. The ship shook violently. Shields failing. Hull tearing. Jonas shouted, "Now, Lane." Lane slammed her hand on the firing control. A beam of pure white energy shot forward, silent, consuming, endless. The core ship convulsed. The swarm froze. For one breathless second, the galaxy was silent. Then the core cracked. A soundless shatter that echoed not through space, but through thought. The machine fleet collapsed. Ships fell dark, drifting lifelessly, scattered like dust. It was over. The battlefield cleared slowly. Human ships floated among Dominion vessels, both damaged, both surviving. The stars were quiet again. Lane leaned back in her seat, breathing hard. Jonas let out a shaky laugh, exhausted. "We did it," he whispered. The Dominion being looked at them, golden eyes glowing softly. "We did not simply survive. We changed. Together." Lane nodded. "This doesn't erase the past. But it creates a future." Jonas smirked. "And a very strange alliance." The being almost smiled. "Strange is the beginning of new things." Outside the viewport, the galaxy stretched wide and bright. Not safe. Not peaceful. But alive. Lane rose to her feet. "We rebuild. Together." The being bowed its head. "Together." Jonas stood beside her. The three of them, once enemies, now something more, looked out into the stars. The war was not the end. It was the beginning. The end.